Hello, everypony. Welcome back to the Art Bubble. My name is Bubbly, and today I'm going to be yapping about an art series I started doing about a year and a half ago. In my first video, I talked about how much I loved Lolita fashion, but it's not just for show. I spent a year going through the Lolita catalog, scouring for the perfect outfit for each of the main 6 from My Little Pony. Today, I will be going through my thought process on each of the girls and how I came to each decision. While I wanted to come up with dress designs on my own, I knew I would burn myself out if I tried to do it 6 times over. All the art pieces you see in this video are available in my Etsy, so if any of them interest you, feel free to check them out in my Etsy store. Link will be in the description. This was my first time drawing Lolita dresses, so I wanted to have a specific reference, so that it would be easier on myself creatively. So for Twilight Sparkle, I knew she needed a dress that was simple, but also pretty. I wanted a star or constellation theme because she is a huge astronomy nerd. I referred to her first Grand Galloping Gala dress for inspiration, as well as when Twilight was instructing Rarity about what constellations to put where on her dress. I also didn't really think of a specific substyle like Sweet Lolita or Gothic Lolita when picking out Twilight Sparkle's dress. I was thinking of just practicality and simplicity, but also just elegant enough fit for the Princess of Friendship. I also knew she would go for an OP or one piece. No, not that one piece. An OP in Lolita terms is a dress that has sleeves, and a JSK is a jumper skirt, which is a dress that you can put a blouse on underneath. Twilight would definitely prefer an OP to minimize having to make more decisions. I know this because I do this as well. I have both OPs and JSKs, and often if I have no energy to make decisions, I'll just put on an OP, some cute shoes, and a bow and call it a day. Less effort and less time consuming, just as Twilight Sparkle would like. Alright, Bubbly, stay on topic. Talk about the dress you picked. I finally settled on this dress from Honuli called Starlight of Serenity. I personally would absolutely love to wear this dress. I love the color palette, especially because it looks like literal Twilight. Now, I didn't want to be too literal with each dress, but this one was just too perfect for her. I just couldn't resist. I was also happy that this dress comes with a matching bow. Less stress for Twilight about what to pair the dress with. While drawing the dress, I realized I needed a constellation stamp brush instead of trying to draw all the constellations by hand. So I found a stamp brush on Gumroad. I will definitely link the creator in the description because these stamps were absolutely perfect to use for this dress. I was able to incorporate them into the dress wonderfully. I tried to stick to the print of the dress as accurately as I could, but I knew that with a print so painterly, I wasn't going to recreate it perfectly. So I just tried to have fun with it. I also really liked the pose I picked for her as well. I tried to go for something more subtle but confident. And in the end, I really like how this piece turned out. Not bad for my first ever drawing of a Lolita dress. For Pinkie Pie, I knew I wanted something bakery/party themed, and I knew I wanted her to wear the Sweet Lolita substyle. I think the thing that I didn't want to go for was the clown aesthetic. While I know some people really like the clown/jester aesthetic, I personally don't, especially for Pinkie Pie. She's way more than an entertainer. She's a party planner. That job requires wearing a multitude of different hats. It involves interior design, baking, knowing how much of what party supplies to get, and so on. Pinkie is entertaining, but she's also a baker, and I think some people forget that. I definitely don't have a problem if people want to draw her in that aesthetic. It's just not my personal preference. Anyway, I scoured the Lolita catalog to find something worthy of Pinkie Pie, and I came across this really cute dress from Angelic Pretty called Sugar Candy Shop. At first glance, I knew this was the dress for her. However, drawing the dress was a completely separate matter. The actual cut of the dress is easy because I've drawn plenty of dresses like it. However, I had to figure out how to draw the pattern, so I did the only thing I knew how to do. Trace. Yes! Shock horror! I traced the pattern. Thankfully, Lolita was a real one and had the sheet of fabric from the dress laid out flat so I could figure out the layout of the pattern. It was a long and monotonous process, but I managed to get it done. Tracing the pattern took about 2 hours, I think, and it was not an easy task. I had to color grab each color, but adjust it to what I knew the color would actually be if it weren't in that specific lighting. I also made a layer for each color and layered each color on top of it, much like what a fabric printer would do. 2 movies later and the pattern was done, and all I had to do was replicate it to make the full print to go over the top of the dress. I, of course, had to adjust the layout of the pattern to match the folds of the dress, but that was the easiest part for me. I do regret not giving her more accessories, but by the time I was done with the dress, I was exhausted and just did not want to draw anything else on her. I do want to actually design Lolita dresses for the main 6, so I'll definitely put more accessories on her in the future. So for Fluttershy, I was wanting to go more towards country Lolita, something soft and not too complicated. I was also coming off the heels of drawing Pinkie Pie's dress, and I needed something simple but still nature themed. I thought about Fluttershy and the different kinds of patterns she might go for. I thought of animal prints at first, but I really did not want to draw a super complicated pattern, especially with my limited experience in drawing Lolita. However, I definitely see her as someone who would wear lots of florals, so I started looking in that direction. Since I was drawing her as a human, I wanted to give her a yellow dress, so that narrowed it down a little bit more. I thought of another pattern she might like, which is very cottagecore, and that is gingham. That narrowed it down even further, so I knew what to look for. I started looking at yellow gingham dresses with flowers, and the Margaret Flower gingham JSK from Metamorphose stood out to me. I wanted a dress that I could easily replicate the pattern, and this dress gave me the perfect opportunity. I could easily see Fluttershy wearing this dress while on a picnic with her animal friends, or with the other main 6 on a pet playdate. Drawing the dress wasn't too hard. I just took a gingham pattern, overlaid it on the dress, made sure it folded correctly, and then added some flower stamps. I absolutely despise drawing flowers, so these stamps really saved my rear. I always imagined Fluttershy being really tall, so I made sure to measure her against the other 2 that I had drawn and make her taller. I really like the pose I chose for her too. It just fits her so well. For Rainbow Dash, I knew I wanted her to wear casual Lolita. She likes fashion as long as it's comfortable and she's able to move around in it easily. Casual Lolita is the perfect thing that would fit her standards because of the smaller petticoats and less bows and accessories to worry about. It's just a dress that can be put on over a small petticoat and shirt. For shoes, I thought some nice comfy loafers would be more her style. I think looking back though, I should have done some like Converse or boots, but I think it still looks cute. When choosing her dress, I knew I wanted a sky theme. There weren't a lot of rainbow themed casual Lolita dresses, so I chose the sky, something that Rainbow Dash loves. Again, as long as it's comfy, she'd definitely wear it. I came across this dress by Emily Temple Cute called Lacy Sky. It just matched Rainbow Dash's whole vibe, and I knew immediately I wanted her in this dress. I also knew that because of her rainbow hair, I didn't want it to be aesthetically overwhelming with a bunch of rainbow patterns everywhere. My one complaint about this drawing is that her feet look a little weird. They're a little too symmetrical and kinda look stubby in my opinion, but overall, I really like how this one turned out. Rainbow Dash definitely has enough wiggle room in this dress to do all her favorite activities. With Applejack, I knew I needed to go for a casual Lolita style as well. Honestly, of all the main 6, Applejack was the easiest to find a dress for. All I needed to look up was apples in the Lullaberry search filters and found lots of good options. I settled on this dress from the black ribbon called Apple Picking. The blue is a perfect contrast to her tan skin, and it was a perfect dress to pair with Applejack's boots and iconic hat. Also, the print was super easy to replicate. I just made an apple stamp and used it to decorate the dress to make it look like the real thing. I also love the pose I chose for her as well. I stole it from the Baishoujo statue because it just fits her so well. Just to be clear though, I did not trace the statue, I used the pose as a reference and nothing more. Overall, I'm happy with this one, and honestly, I don't have anything in this one that I would do differently. Last and certainly not least is Rarity. I knew hers was going to be a handful because of how dramatic and over the top she is. I was really excited to get to hers though, but I also saved it for last because I knew this one was going to be the most complex dress I've ever drawn, even before I chose it. Choosing the dress was very difficult. To try and attempt to narrow it down, I looked for dresses that used jewels as a centerpiece. That definitely narrowed down my search to a manageable degree. I also knew I wanted her dress to be pastel and almost white to reference her fur color. I came across lots of good options, but none that felt like Rarity. I then came across Angelic Pretty's Prism Princess dress, and I immediately fell in love. Honestly, Honestly, I want to wear this dress because it's just so pretty. The lace and the pearl details really pull this dress together in a majestic way. I also really love the purple bows that go all around the dress, with a crystal in the center of each bow. I also love the two large bows both on the top and bottom of the bodice. I also think the crystals on the large bow at the top looks like something Rarity would design herself. I also really like the different colors of the dress. The pastel pink, cream, and lavender really flows well without being too distracting. However, I had to actually draw the dress. Thankfully, I was able to find some free lace brushes that helped speed the process along, but I had to make the crystals by hand because I couldn't find like a little crystal stamp that matched my style. It took so much work drawing all those frills and folds. The colors were also really hard to use because they were all so different from each other, but I had to make them work together seamlessly. Pastel colors are incredibly hard to work with because a shade too blue or a shade too red throws off the whole color balance of the art piece. I finally got the flat colors down and had to render the piece. That part was the easiest, but it was tedious. Finally, after 13 and a half hours, I finally finished it, and there's not a single thing I would change about it. I originally wanted to give her a lacy parasol and bonnet, but there was no way I was gonna draw more lace. No thank you. I was exhausted, but I felt really accomplished. I really love how Rarity's dress turned out. After 52 hours of work, I had finally completed my first ever art series. It took a lot of planning and a lot of patience, but I can't believe I managed to pull it off. As of now, this series is about 2 years old, and even though I have improved since then, I don't think I'll stop selling these for a very long time. If you've been enjoying the My Little Pony art or any of the other things I've been drawing and want to get it to either make yourself or a friend smile, you should check out my Etsy. I do sell these prints there, as well as fan art from other franchises. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like or maybe even a comment. I would love to know if there are any fellow Lolitas out there who like my art. So until next time, make some friends and be kind. See you later!